Welcome back, students. So in this session we'll try to understand the life cycle expectations of your project, right? So first we have discussed about the 7 core metrics in your previous session. So there is no mathematical formula which will say that these core matrices are going to work perfectly, but there are basic reasons why these 7 core matrices are actually selected in order to work with your project. So what are the specific reasons in like these matrices? Actually they will help you in understanding what is the waste generated throughout your project, and while generating your waste indicates what is the unnecessary iteration or what is the unnecessary outcome that is generated, and what is the time and cost wasted on that unnecessary iterations was discussed by these matrices here. So what are the basic reasons in generating this selecting these core matrices we are going to see now. So first specific reason is these are going to help you out in understanding the evaluation of your project. So this particular indicators, what we discussed in your previous session, your management and quality indicators, what they are going to do is they are actually derived from the production, from where your production has evolved rather than your artifacts here, right? This is the first reason in selecting them. And second, it is going to help you out in understanding what is the waste generated, that is throughout your progress of your project. So in order to know that, this 7 core metrics will help you out. And third reason is they are going to help you out in understanding what is the dynamic changes that have taken in your project development throughout your iteration development, throughout different iterations of your project. So in order to know this, or in order to reorganize them, these 7 metrics will help you out. Done. So what are these pragmatic software solutions? So this actually will give you a picture of what are the actual costs wasted and actual matrices that are taken into consideration while you work with your project. So first, this is going to provide you your data related to the actual metrics here. So here the customers and the players like your software development team or management team will play a major role here. So here this particular pragmatic solutions or pragmatic metrics will help you out in understanding some solutions to the questions posed by the customers or the managers. So this will help you out in understanding whether the questions posed by the customers are right or not, and whether they are answered perfectly. If say the question posed by the customers are not solved or not addressed properly, then those particular metrics can be directly eliminated from your project development. So this will help you out in understanding whether you have posed your question correctly or not. If yes, then this will also understand in what context you have posed your question and whether that particular context is satisfied based on your decisions. Right. Next, it will also help you out in understanding what is the dynamic nature of your software project, whether it is behaving dynamically as per the requirements or not. So these pragmatic software metrics will help you out in understanding these points now. Right. So here, in order to work with your in order to work with this metrics, there are certain points which will help you out in understanding, or which will help you in telling that whether the metrics which you are considered are good or not. So first one is this thing. What is this? It is helping you out in understanding the meaningful questions from your customers, managers or performers. This is what I have already said. Whether the question posed by the customer, is it addressed perfectly or not? Is it in sync with the requirements of your project or not? If it is not in sync, you can eliminate that question. Otherwise, if it is already in sync but the performers are not performing well related to your project development, then that particular point is supposed to be addressed. If it is not properly addressed, you are going to include it. If it is not meaningful, then you are going to exclude that particular metric from your project, right? And it will help you out in like the objectives which are posed by your project are unambiguous in nature. Like whatever the the requirements which are posed or the metrics which are defined here, they will be unambiguous if they are divided into different categories of your metrics. Next, it will also help you out in understanding or displaying whether it is ready to accept accept the changes that can be taken in your project or not. So it is also going to help you out in displaying the latest trends in your project and whether your project is going to be in sync with the changes that take place in your project. Next, it is it is naturally taken as a byproduct of your project process itself, and it should also help you out in understanding whether your project is going to support your automation or not. So these metrics will also help you out in laying down whether automation process can be considered by your project development or not. So these are the basic characteristics in order to say that whether the metrics which are followed are good or not. Right. So next we'll go with your metrics and automation. So what is this metrics and automation is? Now that we have taken 7 different metrics, now we will try to understand whether these metrics are supporting your automation process or not. Right. So here in order to work with your metrics and automation, we have a board or we have a panel called as software project and control panel. So this is actually required in order to manage the complete plan against your project development. So this is responsible for managing the plan of your project development, right? So what is this we have an example of your SPCP here. So what is this SPCP is going to do is it is going to collect the data from the project from the users, and at the same time it is going to organize that particular data, and it is also helping you out in reporting the values, actual values and the deviated values of your project, and it will also focus on whether it is directly or indirectly working with the latest trends in your project or not, right? So throughout your engineering evaluation of your engineering artifacts, what are the steps that you are supposed to follow? They will be focused by your metrics. Done. So fine. In order to implement your complete SPCP, you are supposed to follow a set of steps. So what are the necessary steps you are supposed to follow? We'll look into them now. So first one is you are supposed to your metrics are fine. So your metrics are primitive in nature. So what do I mean by this metrics are primitive in nature is they are fine. So these are the basic metrics, and they are supposed to work with your trends, comparisons and the progressions that can be taken into your project. Next, your these metrics should create a graphical user interface. If I take down your screen as a panel here, how your graphical user interface should work will be defined by your metrics. Next, metrics should also have your collecting agents in order to collect the data from the user interfaces. And next, metrics need to have your data management server in order to store your data onto your server database. And next, they are going to actually define the actual metrics right. So they are also going to define this what are your actual metrics are, what are the implementations progress that you have done so far, and what are the assessments that you have done, and what is the design part of your project. So all these will be defined by your metrics here. So if you want to implement a SPCP, basically you actually require all these data. First is the primitives, and next your user interface, agents, management server and definitions, right? So in order to understand this, we have different types of metrics available again, right? So first one is right sorry, and next we have your last part as your actors. So actors are nothing but these are the people involved in your project development. So these actors can be working with the flaws of your project or the development of your project. Actors can be your customers or your project managers or your software team members, or they can be your assessment team members, whoever. So all this will fall under your actors, and these actors are actually of 2 different types. First is your monitor and second is your administrator. So monitor is responsible to provide your graphical user interface, and administrator he is responsible to install the system onto your project, right? So these are the basic responsibilities of the 2 different types of actors what we have taken here. Done. So so here the fundamental metrics, how we are going to compare how I'm going to now this charts will help you out in understanding your metric with your trends, comparisons and progress. So first we'll try to understand your trend. Trend, I already said, this is a comparison between the changes that latest changes on your latest technologies. So here this particular trend is going to compare the already known threshold values with the new outcome of your project. So an example is given here. Whenever I'm going with your design model, what could be the change traffic is given here. So already a threshold value is fixed for your project development in this example. So I'm going to compare your metric with your time. So here initial some lower threshold value is already fixed and upper threshold value is already fixed. So how this actual value is nothing but the value what you get after you include some new features into your project. So that might be higher than your upper threshold or that might be lower than your lower threshold, or this particular actual value may also fall in between these two values. But whenever you include some new properties or features into your project, we always expect that the actual value should be greater than the threshold what we have already fixed or what your project team has already fixed, right? So that is what your trend is. Next we are going with your comparison. So we are going to compare this. So this comparison of your metric value over time can be defined as it is a comparison of the n values what we have taken with the same units over time. So I have already taken some units of units or some parameters and I am going to compare them over time. So here we are working with your metrics of like your actions which when it is open and when it is closed. So I have your metric value called as 1, I have your metric value called as 2. So say for example, if my metric value called as 1 is closed, so what is the value that I have over time with your metrics is defined here, right? Next. Third is your progress. So progress is going to be taken as the metric of plan over the actual time. So here I am going to compare this particular, what is the percentage of your work completed over the time. This is defined by your progress. So what I have planned and what is the actual value I have got over that particular time, that is defined by your progress here. So over time I have made my expected value to be something and I may end up with some other actual value. It might be greater than your expected value or it might be lesser than your expected value. In this example, we are going with your expected value to be actual value to be less than your expected value, right? So what are the basic operations that are supposed to be used when you work with your SPCP? We'll try to see now, right? So first basic operation is you are supposed to start your SPCP server. So what do I mean by starting your SPCP server is you need to start sorry. So here this is going to save what is the most current information of your project, right? What is the current information of your project is saved with the user here within this SPCP server. Next, you are supposed to select your panel preference. So selecting your panel preference is by default you have a default panel or default graphical user interface. So from that, which particular panel you want to select will be is your second step. Third is you are supposed to select a value or a graphical metric, right? So this selective value or graphical metric, it is used to display what is the value that is given by the user. Fourth, you go with selecting select to superimpose your controls. So this superimpose your controls is used to like you have your graphical user interface now, and out of this graphical user interface, which controls you are going to select and which controls you need to focus on. So that is what you are going to do now. So you might be like, if I have a user interface, I need to enter my user ID or password in your login page. So what I will do, I am going to select your user interface. On your user interface, I'll try to select your user ID control checkbox or your control. What is this? Fine. On that control, you are going to select this text box. So that is superimposing here. And next, you drill down to trend here. So this is going to view your metric with whether your metric is following the recent trends or not. Next, drill down to point in time. So this is going to like in your graphical user interface, you are going to point to your graphical user interface here, and it is going to drill down to the values of your metric. So this is going to focus on values of your metric here, right? And next you have your drill down to lower levels of information. So this drill down to lower levels of information, it is going to point to some object here, and it is going to focus on the next level of information. What is that next level of work you are going to work with? So that is focused by your drill down to your lower levels of information. And last you have drill down to lower level of indicators. So this drill down to lower level of indicators, it is going to work with next level of indicators that are available on your next. What are the next indicators that are supposed to be selected? So these are the different steps or the basic operations you need to focus on working with your SPCP. So that is all for this lecture. Let us meet in your next lecture. Thank you.